Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of The Green Room. In The Green Room, I get to unpack all those great stories and anecdotes and the business lessons I learn in talking to business owners just like you every single day. So sit back, relax, buckle up and enjoy this week's episode of The Green Room podcast. Hello and welcome everyone to the Green Room podcast. Quick question, when was the last time you felt like you were pedaling really hard and going nowhere? Well, I'm Chris and today I want to talk to you about headwinds. Because if you're doing business with corporates right now, you are absolutely riding into one. And if you're not doing business with corporates, you're doing business with any sort of business to business relationship, then they will probably be doing business with corporates and they will be feeling it too. So it feels like we've got headwinds everywhere we look in the business world at the moment. And it probably isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So let's have a look at that. A lot of markets right now are really battling. And if your business deals with corporates like big clients, procurement teams, risk committees, you'll know exactly what I mean. They're nervous, they're risk adverse. Decisions that used to take 2 weeks are taking 2 months. Deals that were basically done are sitting on someone's desk, unassigned, and no reason that anyone can actually explain to you. Sound familiar? Well, here's what I want you to picture. I'm not going to get you to picture a spreadsheet or a strategy document. I want you to picture from a couple of weeks ago, the Tour de France. I don't know about you, but I love the Tour de France. I stay up way too late into the night watching the scenery, watching the castles, getting a feel of the strategy of the teams, watching the breakaway, knowing that inevitably they will probably be caught. I really enjoy the Tour de France and have done so for 100 years. Maybe not that long, but for a long, long time. So if you ever watch what happens in the peloton when the wind picks up, like a proper crosswind, side on, brutal, and how the peloton actually handles that. Well, the riders don't just spread out across the road and grind it out on their own. That'd be silly. They form what's called an echelon, basically a V, angled diagonally across the road. Every rider tucks in behind and slightly to the side of the rider in front, sheltering in their slipstream. And it's not just a nice looking formation, even though obviously it looks quite skillful. They're at great speed and very, very close. So it takes a lot of skill. But riding in that V formation gives you something like 30% more efficiency. Same speed, but a third less effort. Because you're not fighting the wind alone, you're sharing the load. And interestingly, birds do exactly the same thing. You've seen it, geese flying in that V formation across the sky. That's just not pretty. That's physics. Each bird is riding the upwash coming off the wingtip of the bird in front of it. It cuts their energy costs significantly. Some studies say by a huge margin over a long flight. And here's the part most people don't clock when they see this. The lead bird doesn't stay in the lead the whole way. They rotate. They take turns being the one punching through the hardest air, and then they drop back and let someone else carry that load for a while. Nobody is expected to smash through the headwinds by themselves the whole way alone. And when you look at a peloton in the Tour de France, exactly the same. They rotate the person up front taking the load. The domestiques, the people there are there to serve, they rotate through the front, protect the general classification rider, and the whole team acts as just that, a team. But the peloton acts together, just like geese flying through the V formation in the sky. They take it in turns. So you're not expected to do it alone. And in fact, nature's telling you, don't do it alone. So 2 things, and I want to give you a bit of a personal one first. So for the first 15 years of my mentoring career, I worked almost exclusively with first generation owners, mums and dads, the founders, building the thing from the ground up. They worked really hard. They got it done. They hustled. They built some really great businesses. Those founders, then started to, over the years, handing the business over to their kids in a succession. So I found myself mentoring the next generation through that succession. Completely different conversation on the surface. Different client, different context, different age group, different dynamics. And they certainly had different fears from their parents. They'd watched their parents, they'd grown up watching their parents work 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and they didn't want to do it like that. But interestingly, underneath, it was the same IP. The fundamentals of how to run a business, the fundamentals of how to service customers, the fundamentals of how to promote and market your business, the fundamentals of managing cash flow, of creating financial budgets, of strategizing and execution. So totally different context from mum and dad when they ran the business. But through the succession phase, pretty much the IP and frameworks were really similar. Same understanding of actually what makes the business work. And now, interestingly, there's been another shift again. A big chunk of my clients are owners getting sale ready, business sale ready, getting the business into shape to exit. And again, different problem on the surface, totally different context, but underneath exactly the same IP applied in a new context for a new market. Move away from founder dependency, create systems that give a great customer experience consistently, build capability in the team so that when someone comes in to buy the business, there's not key person risk through the organisation. Those fundamentals that we were trying to build through into mum and dad's using that IP of what makes a business work, those fundamentals we used in Next Gen around the succession strategy of what makes a business work. And then now we're looking in a different context, business sale ready, the same fundamentals apply. So I didn't reinvent myself 3 separate times. I took what I already knew how to do and I deployed it as the winds changed direction. That's the move right now for a lot of you that are listening in on this podcast. You've built real expertise. You've built a product, a process, a way of solving a genuine problem, but you build it inside one specific market. If that market has gone quiet on you, headwinds up, deals are stalling, the question isn't, what do I do? How do I reinvent from scratch? The question is, what's the actual IP underneath what I do? If I strip away the market I originally built it for, who else has the same underlying problem in a market that isn't currently sitting on its hands? Where could I reapply this IP, these skills, this product knowledge, this service in a different context? What would it take to repackage what I already know for a context nobody's actually asked me for yet? Same wheel, different bike. Now the second thing, and this one's a little uncomfortable, so bear with me. It's very lonely at the top. It really is. Genuinely, it's hard running a business. You carry decisions in your business that literally nobody else around you carries with you. And in a headwind market, that weight doesn't get lighter. It gets heavier, of course. Let's go back to the geese for a second. They don't fly through the hard stretch solo. Neither should you. Find somebody who's actually ridden through a headwind market before, a mentor who's genuinely done the succession, the pivot, the sale, not someone who's just read a case study about it. Get into a business community, a network where you're not the only one out in front into the wind on your own. Somewhere you can rotate to the lead when you're strong and feeling great and you can lead the conversation, and somewhere where you can tuck in behind someone else when you're not. That's not weakness. Let's be really clear about this. That's literally how the fastest, most efficient structure in nature and in professional cycling gets through hard conditions. Doing it solo in a soft market isn't grit. It's just slower and more expensive than it needs to be. Doing it solo in a tough market with headwinds just wears you out. It's just too hard. There's got to be an easier way. Find someone who can help you get information and really ride out those headwinds by applying your IP in a new context, getting new inspiration, having different conversations, really leaning in to those around you that have potentially been there before. So here's the challenge for this week. I want you to look at your IP, the things that you do well that create the product or service that you deliver. What are those things that you can do that other people in your industry, other businesses in your industry can't? Where is your moat around your business that create barriers to entry that make it very difficult for you to substitute, and things that you do particularly well? And the real stuff underneath your product or service that actually creates the value, no matter what the market. And ask yourself, is there a market out there right now that needs exactly what I've got that I haven't thought to offer it to? What is a different context that you can apply this to? What is a different context, different market conditions, where the problem that you solve is the problem for that time, for that context, but they may not be facing the same headwinds as you once did. Exactly as I moved from mum and dad, and now over half of my businesses that I mentor are the next generation. So that was the next iteration, a different context, same IP, and now the business sale ready process that is starting to really evolve through my client base as people are cashing in all this hard work. Same IP, different context. Where does that sit for you? Who's in your V? Who are you riding with right now? If the honest answer is nobody, that's worth fixing before this headwind gets any stronger. Get the support you need. So find the IP, look for a different context where we might apply it, different market that mightn't be facing the same headwinds, but potentially our IP, our service offering, or what we offer could be applied in a different context. What could that look like for you? Run a workshop with your staff. Run a workshop with people with your accountant, with your business coach, business advisor, you might have a trusted mentor that has had business previously. Explore different opportunities with these people. Find your tribe. Get out there, lead the way at different times, but get in the V formation when you need it. Who's doing what? What are other people doing? Get within a network that really gets you, that understands the issues, and that way you're not doing all the heavy lifting. You're not breaking into the wind all by yourself. You're living in that V. And if this episode got you thinking about repositioning what you do, or about finally getting some support around you instead of grinding it out solo, that's exactly the conversation we have inside my Business by Design program and the monthly mentor program that involves. You can find me at chrisgreen.au. That's it for this episode of The Green Room. Look after yourselves, go and find your community, redeploy your IP, and let's take on these headwinds together. If you like this episode of the Green Room podcast, I invite you to jump on my website, chrisgreen.au, and check out other episodes. Also, I have a fortnightly newsletter and videos. So jump on board and check it out.